Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English story. In a small town, there was a man named James who struggled with stress and self-doubt. Despite being hardworking and intelligent, he often felt defeated and unsure of himself. One day, his old friend and mentor, Mr. Clark, visited him and noticed his struggles. "James, I see you're going through a tough time," Mr. Clark said. "Sometimes it's not the big things that break us, but the small habits we develop. Let me share 10 habits that can make someone mentally weak." 1. Overthinking everything. James admitted that he often thought about the same situations over and over again, imagining all the bad things that could happen. Mr. Clark smiled and said, "James, overthinking is like walking in circles. You feel tired, but you don't go anywhere. It takes away your peace and stops you from doing something useful. Instead of worrying about everything that might go wrong, try to focus on fixing one problem at a time. Just take one small step forward." James nodded slowly. "I guess I spend so much time thinking about what could happen that I forget to do something about it." "Exactly," Mr. Clark said. "Worrying doesn't help, but taking action does." James lowered his head and admitted, "I can't stop thinking about things. I keep replaying situations in my head, wondering what I could have done differently or imagining all the bad things that might happen. It's like my brain won't let me rest." Mr. Clark leaned back in his chair and gave James a kind smile. "James, overthinking is something many people struggle with. It's like being stuck in a rocking chair. You move back and forth, but you never actually go anywhere. All it does is make you tired and stressed." James sighed. "But what if something bad does happen? If I think about it enough, maybe I can be ready for it." "That's a common thought," Mr. Clark replied. "But let me ask you this. Has worrying and overthinking ever stopped bad things from happening?" James paused for a moment. "No, I guess not. But it feels like I'm doing something." Mr. Clark nodded. "It feels like you're being productive, but in reality, overthinking steals your peace. It keeps you stuck in fear instead of moving forward. The more you replay situations or imagine the worst, the more you drain your energy. Instead of focusing on what if, focus on what now." James furrowed his brow. "What do you mean by what now?" "I mean focusing on what you can do in this moment," Mr. Clark explained. "If you're worried about something, ask yourself, is there a small step I can take to solve this problem? If there isn't, let it go. You can't control everything, James, but you can control how you respond." James leaned back in his chair, thinking deeply. "So, you're saying I should stop trying to plan for every possible outcome and Just take things one step at a time? Exactly, Mr. Clark said. Think of your mind like a computer. Overthinking is like opening too many programs at once. It slows everything down and makes it harder to focus. But if you close some of those programs and focus on one task, everything runs smoother. Life works the same way. James nodded slowly, feeling a small sense of relief. I guess I've been overthinking for so long that I didn't realize how much it was holding me back. I'll try focusing on one problem at a time. Like you said, that's a great start, Mr. Clark said warmly. Remember, action is the best cure for overthinking. You can't control the future, but you can make the most of today. For the first time in a while, James felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe he didn't have to let his thoughts control him. Maybe he could take back control. One step at a time. 2. Comparing yourself to others. James sighed deeply and leaned forward. I do that all the time. I see people my age starting businesses, traveling, or achieving big goals. And here I am, feeling like I'm stuck. It's hard not to feel like I'm failing when everyone else seems so far ahead. Mr. Clark nodded, his expression calm and understanding. James, do you know what happens when you spend too much time looking at someone else's life? James shrugged. I feel miserable? Exactly, Mr. Clark replied. Comparison kills joy. It's like looking at someone else's plate during a meal instead of enjoying your own food. You forget to appreciate what you have, and it leaves you unsatisfied. James rubbed the back of his neck, feeling a mix of guilt and frustration. But it's so hard not to compare, especially with social media. I see all these perfect lives, and it makes me feel like I'm doing everything wrong. Mr. Clark gave a small laugh. James, social media is like a highlight reel. People only show the best parts of their lives, vacations, awards, happy moments. They rarely show the struggles, the late nights, or the times they feel like giving up. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their best moments. And that's never fair. James thought about this and nodded. So, what should I do instead? How do I stop comparing myself to others? Focus on your own journey, Mr. Clark said firmly. Everyone's path is different. Some people might reach certain milestones faster, but that doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're taking your time to build something meaningful. Progress is progress, no matter how small. James hesitated, then asked, but what if I still feel like I'm not good enough? That feeling comes from looking outward too much. Mr. Clark explained. Turn your attention inward. Instead of asking, why am I not like them? Ask, what have I done today to move closer to my goals? Celebrate your small wins. James, did you learn something new? Did you take a step, no matter how tiny toward your dream? Those are the things that matter. James smiled faintly. So, it's not about being the best. It's about doing my best? Exactly, Mr. Clark said, his voice encouraging. You don't need to be like anyone else to be successful. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. As long as you're growing, you're winning. James sat back and let the words sink in. For the first time, he felt a bit lighter. Maybe he didn't have to measure himself against others. Maybe his journey, with all its ups and downs, was enough. 3. Avoiding challenges. James frowned as he thought about what he had just shared with Mr. Clark. I tend to avoid tasks that seem too hard, he admitted. Whenever something feels too difficult or overwhelming, I push it aside, hoping it will get easier on its own. Mr. Clark looked at him thoughtfully, then nodded slowly. I understand. But here's the thing, James, by avoiding challenges, you deny yourself the chance to grow. James looked confused. How does avoiding things lead to growth? Mr. Clark leaned forward, speaking gently but firmly. Growth comes from facing difficulties. When you avoid challenges, you miss out on opportunities to learn, improve, and become stronger. It's like working out at the gym. If you avoid lifting weights because they're heavy, you'll never build muscle. But when you face the challenge and push through, that's when you get stronger. James thought about it for a moment. So, you're saying that doing the hard things is what helps me grow? Exactly, Mr. Clark said with a smile. Think of challenges as stepping stones. They're not there to defeat you. They're there to help you become better. Every time you face a difficult task, you're strengthening your skills, building confidence, and proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. James felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time, he realized that his fear of difficult tasks was actually holding him back. But what if I fail? What if I can't do it? Mr. Clark chuckled softly. Failure is part of the process. It's not the end, it's just a lesson. When you fail, you learn what doesn't work. And that teaches you what to try next time. So don't be afraid of failing. Be afraid of not trying at all. James felt a shift in his mindset. So, the key is to face the challenge. Even if I'm not sure I'll succeed right away. That's right, Mr. Clark said with a nod. The most successful people aren't the ones who avoid difficulties. They're the ones who face them head on. Learn from them and keep going. Remember, strength is built in the hardest moments, not the easiest ones. James smiled, feeling a newfound sense of determination. I'm going to try harder from now on. No more avoiding the hard stuff. Good, Mr. Clark said. And always remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. And each step will bring you closer to who you want to be. As James left the conversation, he felt ready to face the challenges ahead. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't afraid of difficulty. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity to grow. 4. Seeking constant approval. Mr. Clark noticed how James hesitated to make decisions without asking for others' opinions. Living for others' approval makes you a prisoner. Mr. Clark said, learn to trust your judgment. James sat quietly, thinking about how often he asked others for their opinion before making decisions. Whether it was about what to wear, what to eat, or even bigger choices like his career path, James always felt unsure and depended on others to help him decide. Mr. Clark noticed this hesitation and said, James, I see that you hesitate a lot before making decisions. You often ask others for their opinions first. James nodded, a little embarrassed. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm making the right choice. Mr. Clark smiled gently. I understand. But here's the thing. Living for others' approval makes you a prisoner. You start to rely on everyone else to guide your life, and you lose trust in your own judgment. James thought about it. So, you're saying I shouldn't care so much about what other people think? Exactly, Mr. Clark said. It's natural to seek advice and hear other perspectives. But the final decision should come from you. You are the one living with the consequences of your choices, not anyone else. Learning to trust your own judgment will make you stronger and more confident in your decisions. James frowned slightly. But what if I make a mistake? Everyone makes mistakes, Mr. Clark replied calmly. That's how we learn. The important thing is not to be afraid of making them. If you're constantly looking to others for approval, you'll always feel uncertain. But if you trust yourself, even when things don't go perfectly, you'll be able to bounce back and make better decisions next time. James thought for a moment, realizing how true it was. He had always been afraid of making the wrong choice, but maybe that fear was holding him back. So, I need to trust myself more? Yes, Mr. Clark said, his voice reassuring. Trust that you have the ability to make good decisions. And even when you make mistakes, it's part of growing. You'll become more confident with practice. Start with small decisions and work your way up. James nodded slowly, feeling a shift in his perspective. I think I get it now. I've been relying too much on others instead of trusting my own thoughts and feelings. Mr. Clark smiled. It's a powerful feeling when you learn to trust yourself. You'll make better decisions, and you'll start to feel more in control of your life. James left the conversation feeling lighter. For the first time in a long while, he realized that the only approval he really needed was his own. He didn't have to ask everyone else for permission to live his life. He just needed to trust himself. 5. Dwelling on past mistakes. James admitted he often thought about his past failures. The past is a teacher, not a prison, Mr. Clark said. Learn from it, but don't let it define your future. 6. Letting fear control you. James shared how fear of failure stopped him from trying new things. Fear is natural, but don't let it paralyze you. Mr. Clark said, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. 7. Blaming others for your problems. James sometimes blamed his circumstances or other people for his struggles. Blame weakens you. Mr. Clark said, take responsibility for your life. That's how you regain control. 8. Giving up too soon. James admitted he often gave up when things got hard. Success requires persistence. Mr. Clark said, mentally strong people keep going, even when it's tough. 9. Neglecting self-care. James confessed he often skipped meals, slept poorly, and never made time for relaxation. You can't pour from an empty cup. Mr. Clark said, take care of your body and mind to stay strong. 10. Focusing only on problems. James realized he spent most of his time complaining about what was wrong. Shift your focus to solutions. Mr. Clark said, what you focus on grows. Choose wisely. As James listened to Mr. Clark, he felt a sense of clarity. He realized that these habits had been holding him back. He decided to work on changing them, one by one. It won't be easy, Mr. Clark said, but with each small step, you'll grow stronger. Remember, mental strength isn't about never struggling. It's about learning how to overcome. James thanked Mr. Clark and began his journey to break free from the habits that made him mentally weak. Slowly, he started to feel more confident, resilient, and at peace with himself. Moral of the story: mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's built by avoiding habits that drain your energy and confidence. Change begins with awareness and small, consistent actions. Focus on growth, and don't let fear or doubt hold you back. Trust yourself and stop seeking constant approval from others. You have the ability to make good decisions. And even when you make mistakes, it's a part of growth. Confidence in your own judgment leads to stronger, more independent choices in life. Facing challenges head-on and not avoiding difficulties helps you grow stronger. Overcoming obstacles is key to building mental resilience and becoming more capable in the long run. Let's enrich our vocabulary with some new words. 1. Overthinking. Definition: the act of thinking about something too much, especially in a way that is unproductive or leads to unnecessary worry. Example: James often spent hours overthinking small decisions. 2. Peace. Definition: a state of calm or tranquility, free from worry or disturbance. Example: Mr. Clark told James to focus on finding peace, not on worrying about every possible outcome. 3. Comparison. Definition: the act of evaluating or measuring one thing in relation to another, often leading to feelings of inadequacy. Example: James often compared his progress to that of his friends, which made him feel behind. 4. Progress. Definition: movement forward or improvement over time. Example: instead of comparing himself to others, James should focus on his own progress. 5. Avoidance. Definition: the act of staying away from something or trying to escape it, especially tasks or situations that seem difficult. Example: James often avoided challenging tasks because he feared failure. I'm so glad you spent this time with me. If you like the story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Take care, and see you next time.